the evening here, what I would like to do is ask for a minute or so of reflection for remembrance of the faculty members who have passed away recently, and there are two of those. First is Dr. Richard Booth, who I know many of you are familiar with. Some of you are not because he's before your time. But he was the founding father of the Cardiac Center and had significant academic roles and administrative roles, both at the university and at Creighton University Medical Center. And the other individual is Dr. Satish Metarada, who is also with the Division of Cardiology and in his later years spent a lot of his time at the VA and was actively involved in educational programs with Creighton students and residents and cardiology fellows. So if we could have a minute of silence here in reflection and remembrance of these individuals. Okay, thank you all. And having said that, it looks like it's a wonderful evening, wonderful time of the year, and always a wonderful event. So I would like to welcome everybody to the 39th annual banquet. And let me say from the get-go, I'm not in charge here. I think there's probably three people who are running the show. First is Julie Nelson back there, so she'll direct me where to be and what to do and when to do it. And also has provided me with the bold type so I can read the script here. And I think the other is Tammy Wickman, who Dr. Wickman runs the as you're aware, the residency program, and as program director does a terrific job, and this is really her event, which she should take great pride in the residents who are completing this year. And then the other is Dr. Devon Fox, who has his back to me, I think for on purpose, and I think he has probably a lot of things throughout this year that he's going to incorporate hopefully into his program tonight. So on behalf of the Department of Medicine, I would really like to personally thank everyone for participating in this evening event. As always, it's a great event, and there are too many people, too numerous to really recognize each of them and everyone individually, but I would like to, as a group, like to recognize our residents, our fellows, our educational faculty, and of course all the administrative leadership, who are participating in our graduate education programs. Without them, none of us would get through any of this. And I would also like to give a special recognition to our contributed services faculty who have joined us this evening. And I believe there are three of you here. If there are others, you may also feel free to stand, but I would like to introduce Dr. Ruben Altman, Dr. Jason Langenfeld, and Dr. Sunil Jagadish. Good. And thank you for all your contributions to our educational programs. Now we'll move on to presentation of the oath, and that'll be Dr. Miriam Gabata-Mosi Akindele.
Have you repeat after me. As I continue the study of medicine, I solemnly pledge to give my life and talents to the service of humanity. I will practice medicine with conscience and dignity. I will not permit considerations of race, gender, religion, nationality, ideology, or social standing to intervene between my art and my patient.
I will not permit consideration of race, gender, religion, nationality, ideology, or social standing to intervene between my art and my patient.
The health and life of my patient will be my first consideration, and I will abstain from whatever is deleterious or mischievous. I will hold in confidence all that my patient confides in me. I will give respect and gratitude to my deserving teachers and all who will help me in my pursuit of knowledge, empathy, and wisdom.
I will give respect and gratitude to my deserving teachers
My colleagues will be my brothers and sisters, and by instruction and example. Will impart a knowledge of the art of those who wish to learn it. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life and the dignity of my fellow man. I will not use my knowledge contrary to the laws of humanity and will strive to do no harm. May God grant me the wisdom and compassion to study this art. I make this oath freely and upon my honor.
And now I'd like to invite the School of Medicine Dean, Dr. Robert Dunley, to the podium for some opening comments and prayer.
Brief comments, relatively short prayer. I just want to say to the people that are graduating this evening how proud we are of you. And I know every fourth week I get to attend the nephrology service, and believe it or not, in general I would say it is the highlight of my 4 weeks. I get asked some great questions. I always have a desire to go back to the office and read some nephrology, so I want to thank you for helping me to continue to grow as a physician. And so with a sense of gratitude, let us pray. God of our beginnings, we thank you for the gifts of these graduates, their excitement, their wonder and curiosity, their open speech and encouraging words. Their contributions have blessed and challenged us, and we have become a richer and more diverse community because of them. As they step forward into the world that awaits, comfort their fears with the full knowledge of your divine presence. Strengthen their resolve to walk in the footsteps of Jesus as modern-day disciples in a world that needs their spirit. Guide their feet as they move through life, protecting them from the pitfalls of darkness, while they help to lead future generations into the warmth and promise of your light. We ask this blessing upon each of them. Amen.
Go ahead, enjoy your dinners, and then afterwards we'll proceed with the remainder of the program. I think it looks like most everybody is finishing with their meals and working towards dessert, so I think we'll go ahead and move on with the formal part of this evening's program. And what I'd like to do is invite Dr. Tammy Wickman to present Dr. Wickman, have her come up to the podium and present the awards for the residents and fellow for the recognition of their years of service here and your graduation.
Before I get started, I would like to say again how proud we are of all of you, but also I want to give a couple of thanks before we get started. The first one is I think all the residents know that this program wouldn't run if it weren't for Michaela Berg and Julie Nelson, so can you guys please give them a round of applause? And then just a few words about this class. So I think this class may have been through more change than any other residency class that I can remember. So if you think back to intern year, not only were you starting out brand new, but since you've been here, we have changed ownership from Tenet to Allegiant Creighton. We've changed names from Creighton University to Allegiant Creighton Health, or the network. We have had a new dean, a new chair of internal medicine, and least of all, a new program director. And you guys have weathered the changes amazingly well. And I think that says something for who you are as a class. I think one of the biggest changes and the reason that we're here tonight is to celebrate the change that we have seen in each and every one of you. So you guys came here 1 or 3 years ago, very unsure of yourselves. You either were right out of medical school and didn't know if you knew how to write a Tylenol order, or you were new to the United States system and you didn't know how to get to Creighton Hospital. And we've gotten to see you guys change over the past 3 years into physicians that I am truly proud of. I think that you guys have learned over the past 3 years what it means to be a Creighton physician. You guys have learned to care about the individual patient, that cura personalis, that you care about the needs of each and every one of your patients. I think that you guys have served, you've served those who are most in need. You've served the homeless, the addicted, those who can't speak for themselves. That's part of what we do here at Creighton, and I think you guys have done that with amazing grace and with amazing heart. You guys have done that every step of the way, and I'm very proud of you for that. And I want you to know that this isn't the end. Graduation, we're ready to send you out. And so what we want from you is to continue that spirit of giving and serving as you go out and make a difference in all the parts of the world that you're going to. Gandhi is often quoted as saying, be the change that you want to see in the world. And you guys have been through a ton of change here at Creighton, and I want you to lead the change that's coming. Healthcare continues to evolve and change, and it's not going to stop. And you guys are the ones who are going to make it better than it is today. And so I charge you with that as you go forth from here. So then I'd like to recognize each of you individually and have you come up as I say your name. And I'd like to thank you for all the hard work that you've done, and we'll recognize you as you go. We'll start with the prelims, who have only given us 1 year of their life, but we still appreciate it. We know that you worked really, really hard. It's probably the hardest year that you've put in so far. So first we'll start with Chris Behrens, who's going into... Chris here. Come on up, Chris. So Chris is going to do anesthesiology at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Crystal Rails is going to do radiology. Crystal we stole from UNMC, but she's going to stay at Creighton to do a radiology residency. Congratulations. Dustin Sitzman. Is Dustin here? Dustin's going to do anesthesia at UNC at Chapel Hill. Marcus Thies, I know I saw him. Marcus is going to do anesthesia at UC Davis, Sacramento. Joshua Vanderwerf. I don't think Josh is here. Josh is going to do neurology at University of Pennsylvania. Omar Viswanath. Omar's going to do anesthesiology at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, and I've known Omar for 5 years, and I'm finally getting rid of him. No, we're very proud of him. Randall Yale. He's going to be a flight surgeon in the Air Force in Charleston, South Carolina. So thank you to all of you for your hard work, and we wish you the best as you continue your residencies. Make us proud. So next one, we're going to move on to the categoricals. You are in, oh no, you're not in alphabetical. So we'll start with E.S. Abla. He's going to stay here and do allergy immunology. think the first resident I can remember from Creighton who's staying on to do allergy. Congratulations. Amy Worth Evans. Amy's going to stay on as Creighton faculty at the Omaha VA, and she just had a beautiful baby boy, Charlie. Khalid Aboualez. And Khalid's going to be a hospitalist at Indiana. Oh, go ahead. At Indiana, congratulations. Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. Jayanth Adesamali. And he's going to do a preventive medicine fellowship at Mayo Clinic in Rochester. Khan Akhturk. He's going to do an endocrinology fellowship at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. Subi Azuz. And Subi's going to make us proud staying on in cardiology at Creighton. He's going to be nice to all my residents. I skipped Abalash, sorry, I didn't forget you. Once again, Julie keeps me in line. Abalash Akinapelli. He's also going to stay on and do cardiology here at Creighton. Manju Bengaluru. He's going to be a hospitalist in Bloomington, Illinois. James Fulton. He's also going to do allergy immunology. You are not going to be able to... He's not going to be able to wear those sandals in Denver. He's going to National Jewish in Denver. Andrea Giomi. Andrea's going to be going into private practice at Texas Health and Presbyterian in Dallas, Texas. Jaya Gupta. We're also privileged to keep Jaya here. She's going to be an academic hospitalist at the VA. Avi Kalam. Avi's going to be our patient safety chief resident at the VA. Twee Cole. Twee's going to be doing a geriatric fellowship at UNMC here in Omaha. Peter Lamy. He's going to be a hospitalist at Memorial Hermann Hospital in Houston. Boye Aliotti. I still don't think I said it right after all these years. And he's going to be an academic hospital at Emory Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. David Olson. David's going to do GI at Carolina Medical Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jitendra Pandya. And Jitin's also going to stay here and do cardiology at Creighton. Congratulations. Madhu Penderthi. And Madhu told me when he was interviewing for residency that he wanted to do pulmonary critical care, which he's going to do at Baylor, so I'm very proud of him. Jyothi Ramachandran. She's going to be a hospitalist at the Omaha VA. We're very happy to be keeping her. Abhishek Singla. He's also going to do pulmonary critical care. He's going to University of Cincinnati. Manar Sukar. She's going to be doing ambulatory medicine at Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City, Iowa. And then another change that this class went through is that we changed over this year from having an extra year chief. We're piloting having third-year chief residents. And so I'd like to recognize both our fourth-year chiefs and our third-year chiefs who have come into the role and really given us suggestions as to how to do it better and really kind of push the limits on how we can be effective leaders in our residency. So first I'd like to recognize Mohammed Al-Kashab. So Mohammed is an amazing teacher. He has done an outstanding job all year long teaching our residents and our students. Can you just stay up here? So we're very proud of him, and he's going to do a cardiology fellowship at Cook County in Chicago, Illinois. Next, I'd like to recognize Rebecca Stormont. And Rebecca did half a year as chief and is already faculty here at Creighton in the ambulatory care center, but we're thankful for all of your hard work, and we're glad that you're going to be teaching our residents. Okay. And then the 4 third-year chiefs, I'd ask you to please come up as well. Jaya Gupta, Avi Kalam, Twee Cole. Not very nice making her walk up here twice. And David Olson. And they've all truly been leaders during their time at Creighton. I think both as, you okay there? As role models and as teachers. So if we could give them all, please, a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you, every one of you. So now we're going to to move on to the fellows, and Dr. Stokes couldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to start with allergy and immunology. Is Christina Cruz here? No? Okay. She's going to do private practice in Toronto, Canada. And then Dr. Hunter.
This has been a very special group that's finishing with us tonight, and I see they've taken a sufficient number of pictures that we should be ready for our banquet in a couple weeks. First, we have Ahmed Abueda, who Ahmed, we're very fortunate. We think if all his paperwork goes through, is going to be at the Omaha VA as Creighton faculty there. Next is Islam Al-Huwaidi. You sneaked over there. Islam is going to go and do interventional cardiology at Penn State Geisinger. Congratulations. And then we have Andrew de Nazareth. I think Andrew came in. I saw him sneak in the back there. Okay. Andrew is going to go to private practice in Knoxville, Tennessee, and join one of our prior fellows, right?
Yes.
Taylor Weatherby, yeah. Dr. Esterbrooks remembers him. Next, we have Johnny Gorthy. I'm not going to try your real name, Johnny. Johnny's going to go to Minneapolis to University of Minnesota to do Advanced Heart Failure and Transplant Fellowship. Finally, somebody. And last but not least is Shari Karnam. He's kind of the unsung hero of the group. Dr. Wickman talked about all the changes people have gone through. I think Shari did more schedules this year than we've done in the last 5 years, right? And we're very fortunate Shari's going to stay and do interventional cardiology here at Creighton.
And Dr. Dalcor is not here tonight to present the interventional fellow, so that has fallen on my shoulders, and I do this with trepidation because that fellow is Manu Kaushik, and I have fear that he's going to come up here, correct me, and embarrass me in front of 200 people, but here it is. Manu, are you? And he will be joining the faculty as an interventional cardiologist at the Omaha VA Medical Center, and I think will be a welcome addition, both from his clinical skills and his intellect and scholarly productivity, and also his educational skills. At this time, I'd like Dr. Bob Anderson, are you here? I'll invite him up to present the award for the endocrinology fellow.
Thank you. Well, it's been a wonderful 2 years with Valentina Tarasova as an endocrine fellow. Her official graduation date is delayed a little bit because she had the joyful arrival of her daughter, Valentina Caballero, who is here with us tonight with grandmother Ludmila and her husband Jaime. So congratulations for that. The main thing that we're looking at is that talent such as Valentina should remain at Creighton, and we're working very hard to bring that to pass. So congratulations, Valentina, you come up.
And next is Dr. Bittner to present the ID fellow, and I guess he's here, so I don't have to call him up.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to present our graduating infectious diseases fellow, Dr. Mir Akbar Ali, who unfortunately will be traveling some distance away from us because he's accepted a position at a University of Massachusetts Medical School affiliate, Mercy Hospital in Springfield, Massachusetts, where he'll be doing internal medicine and infectious diseases.
Next, Dr. Morrow will present the Pulmonary Critical Care Fellows.
So none of our pulmonary fellows are here tonight, unfortunately. 2 of them are working and 1's traveling, but this year graduating Dr. Christopher Bo Cuevas. Chris is going into private practice in Tacoma, Washington. We're also graduating Dr. Pooja Gupta, who is returning back to Chicago to go into practice there. And last but not least, we've got Barry Larson, who will be going into private practice, joining the Methodist system over in Council Bluffs.
Thank you, Lee. And I'd like to invite Dr. Wickman back up to present the Outstanding Resident Award.
So it is my pleasure to announce the outstanding resident. This is a very hard decision, but luckily all the faculty vote because I wouldn't be able to choose just one, though this person certainly deserves it. So for exemplifying what we think is the best in internal medicine, I'd like to recognize Dr. Twee Cole. Please don't have the baby right now. It's all internists. She's amazing. Whether she's doing outpatient or inpatient, she's always a star. She has almost as perfect handwriting as Dr. Mike White.
Okay, I guess I'm back on the podium here. And I want to just recognize some of the faculty for some awards and recognition that they received during this year. For the 2014 academic year, there were the Golden Apple Escalapian Award from the class of 2015. One of the nominees was Dr. Eric Peters. Are you here, Eric? And I don't think Eric, unfortunately, was not a winner, I guess, but he is a winner most every other year, and he really contributes significantly to the education programs through the Simulation Center, and is really a committed individual to education and does really a terrific job. So I thank you for that. And then as far as the Golden Apple for 2014, resident winner was Dr. Kashab. Are you here? So I just, to just have some recognition for that, and thank you for a job well done. I'd like to also recognize a couple individuals who got Golden Humanism Awards this year. Again, Dr. Eric Peters, you stand up the second time, and then I think Dr. Carolyn Manhart. Carolyn, I think, yeah, there she will. You can stand up. So again, thank you for your efforts and your contributions. Also, the winner of the School of Medicine Teacher Scholar Award this year was Dr. Michael Dalcor, who isn't here tonight. And I appreciate, again, all the contributions and efforts he made, particularly through the M2 component in the M3 clerkship. And so when you see Mike, be sure and congratulate him on this. He's really put in a lot of work. I also like to highlight some promotions in the Department of Medicine this year. Dr. Madrakamian was promoted to Associate Professor of Medicine with tenure. Dr. Lee Morrow promoted to full professor, Lee. And Dr. Michael White, despite my letter, got promoted to Associate Professor of Medicine and received tenure. And I think it's particularly important in touching that in the current environment with I guess has some confliction as to the role of us as faculty, that we have people who are continuing to advance in rank and seeking tenure. So I say kudos to these folks. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Aaron Moss up here to the podium to present the Contributed Services Award.
Before I announce the recipient of the award, I was looking at this program, 39th annual. So I tried to count back, what was the first award? Did you count back? That was 1976. That's when I graduated from this program. I have no idea where the program was held, where the dinner was held. I asked Julie, she didn't know. She wasn't even here. I see Bob Rucker and Dan Egan. Maybe they will remember. But anyway, this year's award winner is Sunil Jagdish.
Some more awards. The next one is awarded to the division with the highest score attained by our residents on the ABIM certifying exam in 2013, and that award goes to the Division of Cardiology. Is the division chief here? Okay, so I would say relative to that, again, job well done to my associates, because I don't think I was in any way involved with any of that. I've been pretty removed from educational activities and clinical services rotation. So I thank all my associates for that and their continued effort in what's been a somewhat difficult year for them with a very heavy workload. The next award is the Teaching Service Award, which is given by the residents to a division or service in recognition of consistent excellence in house staff education. And the winner of that award this year is the Division of Pulmonary and Critical Care Medicine. The next award is the Professionalism Role Model Award, which is awarded to a faculty member who is selected by the residents as an excellent professional role model for his or her fundamental principles and professional responsibility. The winner of that award is Dr. John Hurley. The next and final faculty award is the James F. Sullivan Award, and we are honored to present this year's James F. Sullivan Award to a member of our faculty who is recognized by the medical residents for excellence and dedication to whole staff education. And this year, the award is presented to an individual who never wants a title or who never wants an award, and that's Dr. Aaron Moss.
Thank you. So one of the problems when you get old is you want to talk. So remember, you are graduates of internal medicine program. Internal medicine is the ultimate medical science. The old internists call it internal medicine and diagnosis. You have to know everything about every organ system in the body. So you are the ultimate diagnosticians and clinicians. So be proud of it. And see, now you guys put me in the hot spot. I gotta be nice to you guys. All right, thank you very much. Aaron.
Like I say, he's a reluctant recipient. Well, that would be a novel concept, Aaron being nice, huh? Okay, I'm going to turn the program over here to Dr. Fox, and he's grinning from ear to ear. And then when he's done, again, I'm going to take the chair's, interim chair, I guess, prerogative of making some comments then to close out the program. But let's have some fun, and I think Devon is really going to entertain us.
Mr. John. Good evening. And welcome to the lucky 13th annual presentation of As the Stomach Turns, which is a candid look into the lives, loves, and losses of all those that haunt the hallowed halls of Creighton University Medical Center, and promising more gratuitous partial nudity than ever before. Dave, get in the sun. Get out of the shade. If ever there has been a year of changes and challenges, this has been one. But thankfully, the intrepid writers of As the Stomach Turns have risen to the occasion once again and managed to put together a revealing portrait of the events of last year, highlighting, as usual, our graduating residents from the Department of Internal Medicine. At the conclusion of last episode of As the Stomach Turns, you may recall a few cliffhangers, and many questions have been answered. For example, would Dr. Porter successfully make it through an academic year without a major fall injury? Would Dr. Manhart make it through an academic year without getting pregnant again? And last, would Dr. Dunley finally have the interim term dropped from before his dean title and become our permanent leader, or would he need to fall back on his skills at gardening and cigar smoking? Oops. Thanks, Kathy. I'm sure this year's episode will bring many more questions such as these. This year's episode of As the Stomach Turns is brought to you by the Allegiant Creighton Reference Lab, promising you will have your results back prior to the patient's discharge or demise, whichever comes last. I didn't know Kevin was going to be here. Just kidding. This episode is also brought to you by Epic. Who knew anything would ever make us miss all scripts? And lastly, As the Stomach Turns is brought to you by the Creighton University Medical Center Physicians Lounge, helping our medical staff every single day to lose those extra pounds by opting not to eat. So again, this year came with tremendous anticipation and some plans for change. Even the producers of this program were shocked to learn that the As the Stomach Turns studios were deemed too antiquated to continue to operate and will be moving to a different location in a few years. Fortunately, the broadcast network has promised it will provide better production facilities, more studio space, and better dressing rooms at the new site. That's Bergen. It's a joke. Stick with me here. So again this year, I'm skipping ahead. Of course, as it will be a few years before the transition is made, at CUMC we're continuing to update and improve the facilities we have. The residents are up in arms because of the closure of the resident lounge for remodeling, saying they should be granted access to the faculty lounge in the basement until it reopens. Many faculty support this because it will give Dr. Schlanger some different people to ask about how to send a text with his brand new cell phone. It's also been a rough year across town at the Omaha VA, of course. Budget cuts and layoffs have reared their ugly heads, creating a situation where the medical staff had even been forced to cross-cover cafeteria duties. Dr. Porter, as we know, jumped ship to come back to CUMC last year, leaving Dr. Gorby behind to handle the chiefly duties at our vet's hospital. He's handling all his responsibilities as chief of medicine at the VA quite ably, though, perhaps experiencing a few more gray hairs along the way. What he is particularly proud of is a singing group that he and some fellow Omaha physicians have put together to entertain at parties, conferences, and various other functions. That's him second from the right. But I've seen them perform, and all I can say is I'm happy they have day jobs. So let's get on to the highlight of this year's episode of As the Stomach Turns. And always with the important caveat from the author Oscar Wilde, a true gentleman is one who never offends anyone unintentionally. So hopefully, as always, I can remain the true gentleman. We all remember that Broadway has its Tony, the music industry its Grammy, and Hollywood the Oscar. But we are proud here at Creighton University Department of Internal Medicine to announce a new award. Yes, until very recently, we were awarding the annual Hurl Award in honor of our illustrious program director at the time. Well, with time comes change, and we're now proud to announce, in honor of our current program director, Tammy Wickman, the creation of the Wickman Award. I was trying to figure out Wick Woman, Wonder Wick Woman. It didn't work, just Wickman's good enough, so that's what we're sticking with. So I'm proud to offer the Wickman to this group of graduating residents who are particularly difficult to make fun of, as anyone knows who's been hit up by me for stories in the last couple of weeks. In general, I'd say this is a group with class and spirit, and I do mean that. Not a slacker in the bunch, a group that worked together in the true spirit of teamsmanship, and a group that became a close group of friends in their time at CUMC, and who I am indeed proud to have had the opportunity to work with. The first Wickmans go to Drs. Mohammed El-Kashab and Rebecca Stormont. Mohammed and Rebecca were this year's chief residents, the last of the now extinct breed of people who decided to stay an extra year to be chiefs. From now on, people will finally have to suck it up and go out into the real world like most people do. As we all know, the Medicare dollars dried up to support that role, but we're happy to have had these two as the ones who ushered out this storied position. This year, these two were assisted by 4 additional chiefs, as you saw, from the third-year class, and next year, there will be a grand total of 6 chief residents from the class, most likely making the 2 remaining feel pretty bad. Rebecca Stormont quietly and deftly slipped away from her chief resident spot at the VA this year to transition early to being a faculty member of our Department of Medicine. In fact, she was so deft and quiet that those in the Department of Medicine didn't even know she was coming. Even though she's been slogging away at clinic every day, Rebecca is yet to actually collect a paycheck. Rebecca hails from Oklahoma, so she's definitely hoping she gets paid sooner rather than later. Ever the helpful and smart chief, Mohammed was definitely way ahead of me when I extended the hand of friendship last year on Facebook. Smartly knowing I was only fishing for incriminating information for the banquet. The reason I knew he was on to me was that shortly after he friended me, he began making his posts in some sort of unusual code. That apparently only he and some other friends were able to decipher. Fortunately, the top-notch research department of As the Stomach Turns Studios were able to crack some elements of his messages, finding frequent references to the Persian poet Rumi, the pyramids of Egypt, the Teletubbies, and the Hair Club for Men. Mohammed is no doubt going to be successful as he pursues his cardiology training in Chicago, a city even bigger than Omaha, thus even easier to disappear into for days at a time without being able to be found. Eyas Abla spent the year being a good example as a diligent and respectable example of what it means to be a great supervisory resident. A bright thinker and excellent teacher, Eyas is committed and dedicated to his work, never losing his cool or raising his voice. He always had that little smile on his face and that glint in his eye. Except for the real day when he had a dental appointment and insisted on returning to service after being numbed up and drilled upon. The only problem was with the numb lip, it was a little difficult for Eyas to come back to tell Dr. Valab Hoshula to call Dr. Yalamanchili about the recommendations from Dr. Kunidarju. We were all relieved when he finally acknowledged that he can grow facial hair on his chin much more effectively than he can on his upper lip. When it comes to sweet, polite people, you can't help but think of Manar Sukar. Manar transitioned over so well from the responsible intern to the patient and helpful supervisory resident. Manara is happily pregnant again with her husband and cardiologist, Dr. Jamila Bouzatan. When Manara had to take time to study for her USMLE exams, instead of taking care of their first child on his own, Jamil had to hire a nanny to do the baby chores even though he was at home. Hopefully now, with a second baby on the way and her internal medicine boards looming, Jamil will be prepared to provide that service to Manara once again. Jayant Dusamali is the visionary of the class, prepared to embark on further training in population health with an eye on the way medicine will be practiced in the future. This foresight isn't often found in someone who can hardly even find their way around town by car. Jayant was already famous as one of the worst drivers in the class, but then upon braving the highways to return from his interview at Mayo Clinic in the middle of winter, he came upon a fierce snowstorm. Jayant did try to plug away through the storm, only to find himself stranded in the middle of nowhere, having to call for help to be rescued. Hopefully that taught him a lesson about how to handle travel in a Minnesota winter. Speaking of bad drivers, Abhishek Singla had quite a year. Ever the gentleman with a polite and kind manner, Abhishek unfortunately had a string of bad luck this year, including some automobile mishaps, fortunately not leading to any personal injury. After he wasn't satisfied with a harmless simple fender bender, he went all out and crashed his car entirely. He did ultimately use his persuasive ways to replace his former conservative automobile that was now smashed with something he would feel safer in that he thinks is a little more fit for the crazy and dangerous streets of Omaha. Andrea Giomi is a caring and bright physician, but that isn't all that defines her, of course. Andrea has established a great life with her husband, Dr. Ariel Mordukamian, and the two have started a wonderful family during their time in Omaha. Andrea obviously loves her home life, as when checkout time comes, everyone knows she's the first to be knocking on the door to wrap up her day. Ariel and Andrea will be leaving their new Nebraska roots to head to Dallas, Texas. So hopefully their experience with the sophisticated Nebraska culture will help them adapt to their new neighbors in the Lone Star State. Abhilash Akinapelli, is this class's brain. He can rattle off the latest study or data on whatever topic comes up. This comes from a very fastidious and disciplined lifestyle. The greatest evidence for this is how picky Abhilash is about keeping on time, using the best tools to do so, and I know you all know what I'm referring to. Abhilash is slight in build, but still managed to find the largest timepiece to wear on his wrist that he could. Hopefully he'll keep this compulsion under control before he finds himself drawn into the rap industry. Khan Akhtar is a reserved and quiet individual, but has still managed to see the world. This despite the fact that Khan is terrified of flying. His friends do know that when Khan travels, he loves meeting the ladies of whatever country he happens to be visiting. Yes, he has a real way with the ladies, and that's because he holds nothing back at all. Pursuing his fellowship in Jacksonville, Florida, Khan will most likely be hitting the gym and the beach in order to attain his true calling of earning his dollars one at a time. Speaking of strippers, a few years ago, there was a very kind, polite group of female residents in that particular class that was quite impossible to really scoop up any dirt on. So I took the easy route and speculated that perhaps in their spare time they were strippers. Surprisingly, I didn't get in trouble for this. But even more surprisingly, I came to discover that one of these young ladies had actually been taking pole dancing lessons. So I had wished I'd known that at the time. But Jaya Gupta and Avi Kalam are two such nice people, hard to impugn, and even less likely to be strippers, but you never know. Jaya Gupta, one of the third-year chiefs, was, as I said, one of the more cryptic members of the class. Inquire of anyone about faults or idiosyncrasies, and no one was able to come up with anything, which always raises suspicions. When pressed, a few people did finally admit that it seems odd that Jaya is always acting like she's cold no matter what time of year, and most days can be seen sporting a scarf. Those of you who know her best know that it's not her innate thermostat that makes her don the scarf or some sort of goiter or other thyroid problem, but instead a memento of a very long night on the town at the APTA meeting, showing her true allegiance with a Blue Jay neck tattoo. Avi Kalam is another of this class's third-year chief residents. And like Jaya, Avi was pretty much impossible to get any dirt on, and not only because of people just think they're the same person. Her Facebook page is virtually devoid of any information, and everybody likes her, says how nice she is, and that she never irritates anyone. Avi will be continuing her training as the patient safety chief resident at the Omaha VA next year. That is, if the VA finally credentials her. It seems the VA has really been giving Avi the runaround when it comes to advancing her faculty appointment there, which makes her colleagues suspect the VA is onto something that Avi might have to explain when the time comes. Once they figure it out, I will sure put it in next year's program. Amy Worth Evans is another great worker and bright resident. This last year definitely included some highlights in Amy's life, the year beginning with a wedding and ending with the birth of a child about 7 or 8 months later. Just kidding. Amy was very creative in the use of her time off, and the combined time between her honeymoon and maternity leave actually amounted to more time than she actually worked. But she's proudly got her plaque in hand, and all's well that ends well. Jyothi Ramachandran kept one fact about her past pretty quiet during her time at Creighton University, and that's that Jyothi's been here before. Jyothi was initially in the internal medicine intern class of 1998. Obviously, she entered some sort of time warp in the intervening time until she resurfaced to return to training, because she looks no different now than she did then, whereas time has not been quite so generous to some of her former fellow interns. Jyothi will be beginning her career as a hospitalist at the Omaha VA, at least until 10 or so years from now when she may decide to come back and do a surgery residency. Khaled Obulayez is the athlete of the class, paying the price with a couple bad knees from too many years playing hard at the game of soccer. Khaled was also one of the forces behind establishing a prayer room in the hospital, possibly for a place to rest those tired knees. More and more people have decided it's important to orient themselves towards the east and pray frequently during the day when they found out that Khaled had convinced the hospital administration that a prayer room must contain an Xbox, a pool table, an ice cream freezer, and a massage chair. He might want to check in the cushions of that chair for all the iPads he lost during residency. Manju Bengaluru is a prompt worker and diligent resident. Another of the brightest of our bunch, Manju always has a hard time sneaking up on people. Why is that? That's right, he has a well-known tendency to buy shoes with only the hardest soles, so always can be heard clicking his way from unit to unit. Manju is still in the midst of deciding what to do to further his career, but in the meantime, I have no doubt he'll have do a great job capitalizing on his talent and making those shoes work for him. Madhu Pandurthi is the guide and helper for the resident class. He's always there, willing to help out when needed, and from my side, seemed guaranteed to always get called in when on backup call. Looking back to his intern year, Madhu was a great help to any of his co-interns who needed directions or a ride anywhere in Omaha. Even though he had no more experience with the city than any of them. We'll see if he can apply those same skills when he moves to Houston. It might be tricky to be an effective tour guide in that metropolis. Among other things, Twee Cole wins the prize for smallest internal medicine resident ever, usurping the title from my classmate Maggie Hu. Remember Maggie? I taught a dimensions class when Twee was a first-year medical student and had her in my small group, and I remember hoping that she just hadn't hit her growth spurt yet. But what Twee lacks for in stature, she clearly makes up for in determination, having given birth to one lovely baby with another on the way. No one knows exactly how far along Twee is, though, because she starts to show at about 2 weeks. Twee's skills at getting the job done, probably what helped her garner the Resident of the Year this year, definitely came into play a few months back when she held me in a headlock until I agreed to grant her and all her co-chiefs doctor's garage access. Peter Lammy definitely is the clown of the class. Never missing out on a social event and always the life of the party, Peter maintains a positive attitude no matter the circumstances. Even though Peter's such a party animal, he does have a more controlled and reflective side. While he claims that his 10 p.m. curfew comes from his internal drive to behave and be pious, the rest of us know it's really because he still lives with his mom. Boye Olaide is the true gentleman of the class. His booming voice and deep laugh cheer up all those around him. Early in his second year, I confused him with someone else and asked how his kids were, and he laughingly replied, "None that I know of." Boye traveled to the American College of Physicians annual session in San Francisco this year, but during the meeting, his friends said that Boye was nowhere to be found. They suspect Boye was finding his own fun while spending time in San Francisco. If you need some advice or guidance, Jitendra Pandya is the go-to person. Pandya is the responsible grown-up type of this class. He actually owns a few homes in Omaha and rents them to his colleagues at very affordable rates. And what does Jiten get in return? A practical joke this year played on him by his rounds team at the VA, where Pandya thought he was accused of leaving his computer unlocked with private patient information accessible to anyone, and requiring him to sign an attestation that it would not happen again. And he's just finding out tonight that that was a joke played on him. David Olson is the last third-year chief to be recognized today. David is a real product of his Catholic education, graduating from Creighton Prep, Notre Dame, and then the Creighton School of Medicine. Obviously, David was disciplined in the harshest manner possible by those school nuns he grew up with, because he carried his skills of discipline right over to his duties as chief. Oh, what's going on here? Just a second. Want to do it one more time? I think so. There you go. All right, Dave. David has found his true... That took me like an hour and a half to get on there. David has found his true calling in life, pursuing the field of gastroenterology, which is fortunate because his potential career in music is definitely doomed after the ACP meeting in Hawaii. David friended me on Facebook a few weeks ago, daring me to do my worst. He had no idea I'd use resources far beyond Facebook. Subi Azuz. Subi Azuz. I've been looking forward to that one for weeks. Subi seems to embody the spirit of the class, bringing a big smile and even bigger sense of humor with him wherever he goes. Like Khan, Subi is also another ladies' man of the class, apparently having at least one date per nursing unit in the hospital. His great attitude and friendly temperament obviously prevented him from making any enemies, even though he may have broken a heart or two. But the ladies really began to line up once Subi became famous as the resident who nearly single-handedly intervened in the only code red in recent memory that wasn't just a drill, putting out a real fire with real flames and smoke in the dirty laundry room between 4100 and 4600. A true hero. That's not really the dirty laundry room between 4100 and 4600. It wasn't that bad, but... Of course, it was always fun and interesting having James Fulton spend some time at CUMC for his training. James will be moving to Colorado from Omaha, which will be a great fit for so many reasons. I'm not saying that it's the little green bud that's drawing James to Colorado, or that he even chooses to ever light up in the first place. But he did seem to spend a lot of time in the dirty laundry room between 4100 and 4600. We all tease James for his default in footwear. Thank you again for wearing those tonight, James. His default in footwear would generally being flip-flops. But knowing James, I would suggest we should just be glad he shows up every day wearing any clothes at all. Well, that's the entirety of this year's graduating class, obviously all very worthy recipients of the new Wickman for their roles on As the Stomach Turns. But we, of course, can't forget the players of the show who helped those residents excel through their training, who themselves are quite deserving of their own Wickman. Starting in a dark corner of the basement, we find Maria Wolin. Maria was drawn over from the VA hospital due to her expertise in graduate medical education. Maria really hit the ground running and has been a tremendous resource. She may need to get out of the basement office a little bit more because sometimes she seems close to losing it. Her colleagues fear that she's always just seconds away from twerking. Dr. Joanne Porter is the one responsible for getting Maria to join us here, having transferred back from the VA to become our Associate Dean for Graduate Medical Education. It's fortunate that Joanne has some experience at ranching because working with all those house staff definitely has her feeling like she's herding cats on a daily basis. It is her strong personality that helps Dr. Porter to succeed here and at the VA to such a great degree. She would never take no for an answer, even when her VA parking spot was blocked by campus security. It's hard to see, but there's a traffic cone under there, and she drove right over it. And if you look closely, there are also some UNMC cardiologists underneath there. Brett Render joined the team this year as one of our new fellowship coordinators. He must have been highly sought after because after the amazing paint job his office got this year, the hospital can no longer afford to update any more patient rooms. Brett tells everyone that he was recruited from a job running the front office at the Dundee Clinic. This isn't true. He's just trying to cover up the fact that the big boy used to sling burgers. Julie Nelson continues to be the maternal presence for her colleagues and all her house staff in the Department of Medicine. Julie has watched as interns have become supervisors, residents became faculty, the very young have grown old. But Julie never changes, maintaining a youthful attitude and a great sense of humor. Julie has watched as the complexion and makeup of each class has been distinct and different, seeing residents of all shapes and sizes parade through. She's seen the chief year shrink from 4 to 2 chiefs and now inflate to a grand total of 6 chief residents. Lately, we have noticed a much higher representation from Syria and other Middle Eastern countries, a shift from years past when so many of our foreign medical graduates were from India. Julie does have some concerns with all these changes that next year we may have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. So obviously, all is well on As the Stomach Turns. Another batch of residents turned out into the world, another series of Wickmans awarded, and another banquet complete. Dr. Dunley did shed the interim from the front end of his dean title, but still has been able to enjoy taking some time to do those things he really enjoys. Thanks again, Kathy. And so please tune in again next year, when we'll hopefully have some answers to some big questions. Will those in command finally give our new hospital a name, and an awesome one at that? Will the elevators once and for all finally be fixed, or will we have to resort to a more reliable method of interfloor transit for our patients? And if we do give the fireman pole method a try, how will we ever keep Jaya and Avi off of them? And finally, will Blue Cross Blue Shield reconsider cutting their ties with a faith-based organization, especially considering that the day that they made the announcement was also the day that Omaha received more rain in 24 hours than any day in history? I feel confident they'll realize it's best to keep the Pope on your side. Thank you and good night.
Well, thank you, Devon. Is always terrific, very entertaining, and kind of lightens up the air, lightens up the evening. I mean, just a little more serious here for a little bit. And I want to go through some things which I call golden nuggets, or maybe words of wisdom, things which have been passed on from mentors to students over the years, and I collected some of these through some editorials and through some other, I think, articles I've read, and some have also been, I think, things which have been said by leaders in medicine who've been at various meetings and things and talking with residents and fellows and junior faculty and giving advice. I think Tammy probably articulated very clearly how proud we are of you folks as you're finishing up here, and what terrific people you are, how professional you are, how well skilled you are, what great intellects you are, and also that you've really gone through somewhat of a unusual transitional period, a period of change. And I think you're going to be well prepared because you're going to move into a future of healthcare, which is also going to be significant change and transition. We're seeing significant change going on here with our alignment with Allegiant. We're going to have a new ambulatory health center, an academic health center, and a lot of things are really going to change. But I think this is going on everywhere. And so I think there's going to be a lot of tugging, a lot of pulling, a lot of demands, a lot of bureaucracy, just a lot of things that many of us 30 years ago really did not have to deal with. And I think all of these things are really going to impact your role as a physician. I think it's going to impact and maybe threaten the relationship between physician and patients. And so there's some things here that I thought we would go over and just read some of these. And because I think they will put things in perspective. I think when you get frustrated, when you maybe perhaps wonder why you went into medicine. I think medicine, everybody says, is a demanding mistress, and there's no question of that. It really, I think, consumes our life in many ways, but it's also fulfilling. So I think having said that, let me just go through some of these, because I want you to carry these forward with you and really reflect a little bit. I think as you go forward and maybe wonder a little bit if you're doing all the things you'd hoped you would be doing when you went into medicine. And let me start with the first one is, do not aim to be mediocre. Okay? Well, mediocrity is usually the safest path, and it's the easiest thing to do, to really fall back. But I think when you look at it in the long term, it is really insufferably boring and usually unproductive. So I think you always want to achieve, to do your best, apply your best, and I think you will be fulfilled in your career. Remember to repay your debt to your own mentors. And you do this by continuing the tradition, by mentoring the next generation with a selfless, generous spirit. And I think last year I read an essay on mentoring, and the important point being you can mentor anywhere in society, anywhere in the community, and I think these reflections are relative to your role as physician, I think your role to your patients, and also your role in community. So be generous, be a mentor, and I think your life will be fulfilled in many ways. I think rewarding work and collegial relationships with colleagues is critical to a fulfilled life and to your career happiness. I would ask you to never rationalize that monetary rewards will compensate for miserable work or a miserable work environment. Okay? So I think it's really important that you have to feel rewarded in the work that you do and fulfilled. And repeatedly, when we have our Runkel professorship come in, and we always spend one morning with the fellows on the day that the professor leaves. And I always ask them to talk to the fellows about careers, be it private practice, be it academic, that what they would recommend they look forward in going into life as a physician and a cardiologist. And almost universally they say, don't go after the money. It's amazing. So I think this is a universal message. Really do what drives and pulls at your heart, and find your niche, and you will be successful. And again, in that same tune, I think it's not how much money you make, is how much you enjoy your day. Your career fulfillment or lack thereof will strongly impact, remember, all the other areas of your life. So again, really do what fulfills you. And nothing in life is ever wasted. You know, all the work we do has meaning. All the people we meet have meaning. So you're all familiar with the concept of the bucket that gets filled, and you fill your bucket, and then you fill somebody else's, and it's all positive energy, and everybody feels good. You don't fill your bucket, you feel bad, everybody's miserable, it's negative energy. And likewise, I think when we start out, even in our careers, it's sort of a blank sheet. You know, and the dots are the people, the dots are the experiences, and over time they all come together, and pretty soon you have a great sketch, a great picture, and I think a great career. When you're not sure what to do, and this I think is maybe the most important message here tonight, always do what you believe is in the best interest of the patient. And this is very important, again, as we get tugged and pulled in medicine as we move forward. And remember that your patient is someone's daughter or son, somebody's mother or father, someone's aunt or uncle, a grandparent, a spouse, or a partner. Remember this, know your patients, respect your patients, and understand that they are unique individuals in a unique situation and a unique relationship, and they're not just a disease state. I think this is also very important. And I would encourage you to practice clinical medicine with humanity and perform science with integrity. I think that's also very important. And I'll close, come close to closing here. Also, what are the basic three fundamental responsibilities of a physician. And the first is patient advocacy. We must first of all do no harm. Again, to teach, to give back, to pay back for those who have taught you and mentored you. And again, you can do this at multiple levels within your community or society. And also, I think what's very important is lifelong learning. We must continue to learn. We must continue to be contemporary. And I think at times we may have to, be judgmental of what's coming out in the literature and in medicine, and really be critical to in analyzing that. And I think what you have to avoid is a term I always use, is maturation or rest. You cannot stop. You have to continue to grow. Just as you've had in these 3 years, you're going to control or grow significantly more over your lifetime. And I think that's really critical, again, if you're going to have really a rewarding and fulfilled career. And when you look outside of medicine, the other thing I would also say is always be generous. Generous with your time, your home, your hospitality, and treasure your friends, colleagues, learners. And I think what's important, and this is probably something that maybe I haven't done as well as I should, remember, place your family first, okay? They're perhaps the most important. Your success is their success, and I think their success in turn depends upon your mood, your temperament, and how fulfilled you are in your career. And the last thing I would say, and this is from my greatest mentor, my wife, who always says, are we having fun? But I think what we should make sure is that we don't forget how to have fun. We got a lot of challenges ahead, tough trials in medicine, but you people should be honored in what you're able to do, the profession you have, and what you will bring to society. But along the way, make sure you enjoy it. Thank you and have a good night.